Now. Good. So I'm Denis Pellerin. I am a photo historian of sorts. I'm also the curator of this person's collection. And yes, it's time to put on your 3D glasses. And yes, this is how cool you look once you have them on. So this is I hope you find the system very nice and pleasant. There should be no ghosting and the colors should be all right. So yeah, this is my boss, Dr. Brian May, and he's a collector of stereo, and he's a great person, and thanks to him we've got those glasses and this system today. So I'm going to talk to you today about this book, which has not been published yet, so it was a bit difficult for me to get the information about it, but Victor very kindly sent me lots of emails and pictures. So this is the result of what we did last year, all the talks and conferences. Still works? Yes, it does. I'm checking just in case. And as Victor said, it should be published very soon, before the end of the year, I guess. So the third image. This is a book in 5 parts, and the first part is about stereoscopy and immersion, which is the theme of our conference here for the next 3 days. It starts with a very interesting and long story of photography, stereoscopic photography in Portugal by Victor Flores. Stereoscopic Photography in Portugal, Discourses and Practices of a Visual Culture. So Victor examines the history of the development of stereoscopy in this country with commercial photographs and also a lot of amateur photographs, because this is what struck me the first time I came here. I was really amazed at the number of amateur stereo photographers in Portugal and the quality of their work. And I must say that Portugal is far ahead in advance of other countries on the subject of developing and promoting stereo. What they did, cataloging all the 8 or several, maybe more than 8 now, public collections, that's never been done before. And taking such an interest in amateur photography as well is something unique. And I remember last year when I was here, I said, okay, this was the first episode of a great adventure. I don't know where the next episode will be. And actually it's back here again, because nobody else has done what Portugal did last year and is doing again this year. So congratulations, Portugal, and congratulations to Victor and the team, and thank you to the university for welcoming us here today. There will be a chapter as well in this section by Oliver Grau on will we ever become used to immersion, media, art history, and image science. So sorry I couldn't find a stereo picture, but this is the Sala delle Prospettive, and this is it shows you that immersion has been popular for ages now, since the Renaissance actually, trying to get immersed into a picture, a flat picture which was supposed to represent a 3D world. So this picture is flat, sorry, only the title is standing out. Then you've got an article by Maria Teresa Cruz, Allegories of Immersion from Distance and Closeness to Images. So about how we see images from a distance, from very close, and what it changes in our perception. So I took pictures I had in my collection to illustrate that, because at the time I didn't have all the pictures, and some articles are not illustrated with pictures. So I thought it would be nice to show you stereos anyway. Then we've got, I know this guy. We've got an interview, a short article, sorry, about stereoscopic picture, a historical and cultural treasure less appreciated and often forgotten. So the problem with stereoscopy is that it's been neglected for years by historians. It's always been neglected, actually. It's hardly ever mentioned in the newspapers of the time, except in advertisements, and in histories of photography, usually it's totally overlooked, or there is just a paragraph, sometimes a very short chapter on the subject, but usually it's considered sort of second citizen, a poor relation of photography, and we are here to prove that it is far from being true. So these are some stereos from the 19th century to show how popular stereoscopy was at the time. It was the virtual reality of the time, and it was to be found in lots of parlors in middle-class houses. This is a factory, a stereoscopic factory, so they made stereos by the millions of stereos were produced during the Victorian era, especially in France and in Britain, and then later in the States, in Portugal, in the rest of Europe. But it's all started in Britain and France. Then we've got a chapter on the event in stereoscopic photography. Stereo is wonderful to illustrate events, and here you've got an example, and it is an article by Emilio Tavares. And some of the photos I had access to are really amazing, and they are so natural, and they show so many people. Look at the crowd here, expecting probably the arrival of the king. And they're all eager, and they're all dressed up, and they raise their hats as a tribute to the king. I mean, amazing pictures, really. And I'd never seen those pictures before, and it was a pleasure to go through them when we did the first project last year. The second part is about stereoscopic visual culture. And there is a very interesting article by Teresa Mendes Flores, Hamilton Ezeka, a stereoscopic pair by Alberto Marshall Brandaus. I'm sorry about the pronunciation of the Portuguese names. I don't want to hurt your ears, but honestly, this is amazing. And it shows a lot of stereos with a person inside the photo, the person being the spectator looks at someone who is already inside the photograph, and it helps him step into the photo, because this is what immersion is all about, and the stereoscope is good for that. You can actually step into the picture as if you were there, and it's the best way to travel back in time and also to travel in space. Victor mentioned space, of course. Then there is an article by Victor Doschreich about Francisco Alfonso Chaves. Yeah, okay, I got that one right because you said it, Victor. Abduction, immersion, presence, a study on the stereoscopic photography of this photographer. Again, we're going to see an exhibition about this work, but I wanted to show you a couple of pictures in stereo. I think we'll be able to see some of his work in stereo tomorrow, but yeah, but on a big screen it's quite impressive, and the quality is amazing, really. I had real pleasure working on these images. Peeping image for a psychoanalysis of stereoscopy. Well, the stereoscope has often been considered a voyeuristic instrument. It's still true nowadays, and it was true at the beginning. A lot of very early stereoscopic pictures are nudes or even pornographic pictures, unfortunately. And this one is not in the book, but it's a picture from Dr. May's collection, and I thought it was a good illustration to this article, Margaret de Medeiros. So about the difference, well, about what we see and how we see it. Are we just watchers or voyeurs? Then we've got a very interesting piece about Arthur Benares, a Portuguese photographer, an amateur, but who also sold some of his pictures, by Joana Bicacro. And I must say I fell in love with Benares' work. He was such a good photographer, and he had an eye for, well, he was looking for people. He was trying to see what their lives was like. And this is an amazing photos of some washerwomen, Portuguese washerwomen. But Benares also went to London. He traveled a lot, and he traveled to London at the time of King Edward VII King George V, coronation in 1911, and he took some pictures of London as a tourist. He was a Portuguese tourist at the time, and he took photos of what struck him as being different from what he knew in Portugal. And his vision is very interesting. So you can see here, Long Live the King. It was just before the coronation, George and Mary. He took people in the street, people walking in the street in London, the busy streets of London. He took, of course, the policemen and the omnibuses, and there were still horse carriages at the time. Everything has disappeared now, but it was a very good way to remember England as it was. I couldn't find any photos for those two articles. Oporto in Relief, Stereoscopic Photography, circa 1855-1890 by Nuno Borges de Araujo. Is it okay, Victor? Good, thank you. And Authorship and Dating Stereographs of Coimbra from the 19th century by Alexander Ramirez. So, as you can see, a lot of variety in the articles. So some are long, some are short, but they're all very interesting, and they say so much about stereo and about how it was used by all these people. Part 3 is about collecting stereographs, and that's another first here, because last year there were lots of meetings and talks with collectors. Victor and his team did not only look at public collections, they also went to look at private collections, and they interviewed private collectors, and private collectors lent pictures for the conference last year, and it was a really very interesting exchange between historians and collectors. And most of the time, collectors are totally ignored by historians, and I think it's a mistake, and this is a mistake that was not made here in Portugal. So congratulations on that as well. Okay, I know this guy. So yes, Victor very kindly interviewed me via email. We exchanged lots of emails, so every week he would send me a question, and I would try to answer his questions, and so this is a long chapter in the book. It's about, yes, stereoscopy being the poor relation of photography and how we absolutely need to change that. And then we had an interview with Antonio Pedro Vicente. Stereoscopy is an example of the way technology overcomes the object. So again, a very interesting thing, a dialogue with Mr. Vicente, and just a photo to illustrate what a collection can look like sometimes when you just put all the pictures on the table. Chatting with collectors was a very nice part of last year's conference, and here you see a photographic affair in London, but this is where people buy all their equipment and cards, and it's always fascinating to chat with collectors, because they know a lot about their collection, and sometimes they know a lot more than many historians, because they actually live with the pictures, and they treasure them, and they preserve them, and they try to learn about them, and to understand what's behind the image, the story behind the image. So, long live collectors. Interpreting stereographs is part 4 of the book, and we have an article by Teresa Mendes Flores on the faces of the image, stereographs by Aurelio Paz dos Reis. This photographer was fascinated by crowds, and there are lots of his pictures showing crowds at any event. Sometimes we don't know what the event is, but it doesn't matter. What matters is the faces, the looks on these people's faces. And this is an amazing photograph indeed. Look at that. How many people can you count here? And they're all looking at the photographer, and you can tell so many stories looking at them, and you can be part of their lives in a way through the stereoscope. This is an article about comparing 2 photographs of the Courts of the Lion Alhambra in 2 collections, Pestalozzi and Santana Carloso, and an article by Rodrigo Peixoto, stereophotographer and operator of the eye. The next chapter is about 2 photographers and 1 event, Arthur Freire, 1820, 1930, and his double. Nice stereos as well of these children Well, this one is not in the book, but I had a scan of this one, and I really love it. And it's the little guy is in the book several times. The little guy on the right, and I love this picture really. Margarida Medeiros again, rock, scale, and landscape. 2 photographs of Alberto Marshal Brandao. This photographer loved reflections as well in water, and he loved the rocks, and he loves taking photos of landscapes and scenery, and there is such a sort of serenity in his images, and you will love this article. The haptic interface of the flea from No Mondaine by Victor Flores. Sorry, Victor, I couldn't find the flea from No Mondaine in Brian's collection, but I found a similar image, which is a bit later, which is also called the flea. But it's very much like what you say in the article, and you should read that article, and it's about the erotic possibilities of stereos as well. Again, the haptic interface, you want to touch, but you can't. That's the thing with stereo, you can't touch. Joanna Bicacro, an article about the Universal Exposition in Paris, 1900, another of Dos Reis' trips, this time to Paris. And you can see here the moving pavements of the exhibition. It was quite amazing. Well, I know you had an exhibition in Lisbon in 1988. The one in Paris was probably the best ever, the biggest. And you could go all around the exhibition on these pavements, here wooden pavements, and they had 2 speeds. So if you were in a hurry, you could choose the faster moving pavement, and if you had plenty of time, you could choose the slower one. But this was an amazing feat of technology at the time. And the fifth part is about aspects of the stereo look. And there are several chapters here, short chapters: paradigmatic composition, predominant themes, travels, theatrical scenes and staging, managing without the viewer, group viewing, the other, and the exotic. And the book ends with stereographs from 8 public institutions. So I mentioned that they catalogued stereos of many public collections here in Portugal, and you can see some of the photos from these collections, and as well as information about the collections and what you can find there. So I'll finish with a few images from some of these collections. Stereoscopy of an event here. I mean, how can you immerse yourself in a picture like this if it's flat? But in stereo, it's so easy to do it. Nice market here. A monument. I'm sure you know where that is. Color photographs, not very common. There are a few autochromes in stereo, and this one is maybe not an autochrome actually, but it's another process, but it's a nice color one. Also in the book, well, we all know where that is. That's Lisbon. Long time ago, without all the roadworks. Ponte Luizzi, very nice example of stereoscopic depth here. You can actually go through the door and find your way along the bridge there. And a photographic studio. There are not many pictures of photographic studios, and this one is particularly interesting. So I recommend this book, The Third Image, soon to be published and to be found in all the best libraries and on Amazon, Portugal or Spain. Spanish for Amazon, okay. Do we have an idea of the price, Victor? Not yet, okay, so it's a surprise. But probably a very nice present for Christmas, so put it on your list to Santa Claus, and thank you very much.